Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Yasmina Greco. I'm with O'Reilly Media, and I will be your host for today's webcast. Today, folks, we have David Pogue, and he's going to be talking to you about OS X Mountain Lion and the iPhone 5. He'll give us Pogue's take on that. David is the author of several best-selling O'Reilly titles, including the newly released OS X Mountain Lion, the Missing Manual book, and the newly released iPhone, the Missing Manual 6th edition book that's going to be here shortly for you all to pre-order. David is the weekly personal technology columnist for the New York Times and an Emmy Award-winning tech correspondent for CBS News. David has over 3 million books in print. He is also one of the world's best-selling how-to authors. He has written and co-written 7 books in the For Dummies series, and in 1999 he launched his own series of amusing, practical, and user-friendly computer books called Missing Manuals, which now includes over 100 titles. We're so pleased to have David with us today to present this webcast for you all. I will turn the program over to David in just a moment, but first I'd like to go over some housekeeping things to help you get the most out of today's webcast. You'll want to open the group chat widget if you haven't already done so. This is where we can interact with each other during the event and where you can submit your questions for David. We find that our audience usually has a lot of good knowledge to share, so we encourage you all to chat freely during the event. However, if you have questions for David, please preface them with a capital letter Q so we know that they're for him and we can make sure he sees it for Q&A. You can also open, move, and resize any of the other widgets. If you'd like to tweet from the Twitter widget today, you may need to give it permission to access your account, and it will automatically append the event's hashtag to your tweets. Our hashtag today is Pogue Webcast, all one word. If you have any problems during the event, please take a look at the Help widget. If you continue to have problems, please post it in the group chat and one of our staff will help you right away. For choppy audio or stalled visuals, please try refreshing your window. And remember, the best thing you can do for a good audio stream is to close any apps that could interfere. People always ask, so we'd like you to know, we are recording today's webcast and we'll have an archive ready usually within 48 hours. And folks, at this time, it is my pleasure to turn the program over to David for his presentation. Hello, David.
Hello, everybody. This is a historic day. I am more trashed than I've ever been in my life. This is me. You can't see me. But last night was a really big night in my life. It was the season premiere of my new TV show, Nova Science Now, on PBS. It went great. I live tweeted it for the East Coasters from 10 to 11, and it was really fun. It coincided, sadly, with my deadline for the iPhone book, which I wound up having to pull an all-nighter to get done. So I have slept for an hour and a half in the last 24 hours, and I'm pretty exhausted. So if my words start coming out in the order wrong, you'll forgive me. But I did get it turned in on time, so that should be on the shelves in a couple of weeks. And then this is the book that I just finished a few weeks ago, Macos and Mountain Lion. So I guess I'm saying all of this as a cautionary note that ordinarily I look like this, but now because of all these coinciding big projects, I look like that. So, oh yeah, and on top of that, I just got engaged. So it's been a crazy, crazy time for me. All right, so since the iPhone is fresh on my mind, maybe we should start with that. I can't show you the iPhone, which is something of a problem. So what I decided to do is to show you my favorite thing on the new iPhone and in iOS 6 by showing you pages from the book that is still steaming hot out of the oven and going to press as we speak. So as you know, there's the iPhone 5, which is beautiful and tall and thin and very fast and sold out everywhere. I guess there's a long waiting list for it. And then there's iOS 6, which is the software that it comes with, but is also installable on the previous 3 iPhone models, which for free, which is pretty nice. That's the usual way the Apple world works. So I just wanted to show you a few of my favorite features in this thing. This thing, I think, is reason enough to get iOS 6 right here. When a call comes in, you see this right here. You see slide to answer, but you also see this new little phone button. And if you flick it up with your thumb, you get these new controls. You can decline the call. You can answer the call as before, but you can also reply with a message. This would be a canned message. So you tap that, and then you get this. You're getting a text message auto-generated with one tap that says, "Can't talk right now, I'll call you later," or "Can't talk right now, I'm on my way," or "Can't talk right now," and then whatever you type in to custom. Sadly, you cannot custom, you have to type on the fly, like "Can't talk right now," click "I'm giving a webcast." So if you're driving, that's not really much of a distraction saver. Fortunately, if you go into settings, you will find that you can edit all 3 of these. So you can set these up to be your own "I don't want to talk to you right now" messages. The other new button when you flick up on the incoming call screen is "Remind Me Later." And this is Apple going even farther with its geofencing technology that debuted in the 4S and iOS 5. So when you tap this button, you get this screen in an hour, when I leave, when I get home, when I get to work. So the problem with the reply with message feature is that it only works if someone's calling you from a cell phone. So if someone's calling you from work or from home, they will not get your text message. They'll just think you're a rude jerk for not taking their call. This solves that problem. You tap in 1 hour. What that does is it hangs up, it dumps the call to voicemail, and then in an hour you'll get a reminder, "Hey, call this guy back." You can also use these geofencing buttons, which means if you tap "When I Leave," let's assume that you are at the hair salon when this call was coming in, or having surgery, or in church or something. You can just tap that, and then as soon as you leave your current location, 100 yards or whatever, the geofence will know that the phone is now no longer where you were incapacitated, and it will remind you to call the person back. Same thing with "When I get home" and "When I get to work." One more note on these reply with text message things that I didn't realize. I sort of imagined that I had to send one of these texts back while the phone was still ringing, while the person was still, but it turns out that's not true at all. As soon as you do reply with message, the phone gets dumped to voicemail. You have all the time in the world to tap these buttons. Anyway, by the way, for years you have been able to take screenshots of what's on the phone screen, like the ones you see here, by pressing the home button and the sleep switch simultaneously. This is how computer book authors like me write their books. It turns out that in iOS 6, that screenshot function is broken for many of the features and functions of the iPhone, and this is one of them. You cannot take these pictures yourself. I had to use some really sneaky technical social networking social engineering things to get these shots. So I'm looking at these shots with great fondness. The other really fantastic calling feature is "Do Not Disturb." So brilliant. It's like airplane mode in that nobody can call you or text you or make your phone light up or ring or buzz, except the problem with airplane mode is, what if it's important? What if it's your wife or your kid or the school doctor or whatever? So what happens with "Do Not Disturb" is when you turn it on, and you turn it on in settings, it's right on the main settings screen, only calls from specified people get through. So you can tap favorites, for example. This refers to the favorites in your phone app, your speed dial people. So anytime they call, they can get through, but you're not going to hear from telemarketers and idiots. And then you can set up groups, address book groups, and choose one of those. You can say only allow calls from people in my contacts. That is, people I actually know, but I never want to hear from strangers. But wait, there's more. You can also have it set up on a schedule. You're looking at mine. Yes, I'm a night owl. So I never turn my phone off or into airplane mode when I go to bed. I set it in the alarm clock on the desk next to me, which has a charger, and at 1 a.m. it automatically goes into do not disturb mode, and at 11 in the morning it automatically comes out of do not disturb mode. It is so great. It saves me all this fumbling every single night and every single morning. So there's one more case where even this would not be what you want, and that is, what if your kid breaks her leg at school on the playground and the school nurse is frantically trying to reach you? This happens to those of us who sleep really late. So down here they've added this emergency function. If a second call from the same number comes in within 3 minutes, in other words, somebody's frantically trying to reach you who's not on the approved list, that call will still come in. I just think that is so super, super smart. All right, I'm going to duck back to Firefox and make sure no one's trying to flag me. Okay, I assume you can all hear me and are nodding in silent agreement because I feel like I'm talking to myself in an empty room. Okay, so let's see. So FaceTime, if you have an iPhone 4 or later, you can now make those video calls over the cellular network. You may have heard about this. It turns out it works really well. I'm really surprised. And it's great for things like when you're you've been sent by your spouse to pick out, a head of lettuce or whatever, and you're in the store and you don't know how to judge a head of lettuce, but now you can quickly do FaceTime and say, honey, what do you think of this one? No, you idiot. If it's brown and moldy like that, you don't buy it, and off you go. So another some very small but very useful change, one of my favorites, is in Mail on the iPhone, and this is the new VIPs function. It's exactly the same as the VIP function on Mail in Mountain Lion. And the concept is this. Whenever you have a person who's really important in your life, you can designate them as a VIP. And what that means is they will appear with a star next to their name, and in the inbox, this is the new inbox for iOS 6, there is a folder that says VIPs. And when you tap that with your finger, you will see all the messages from all your accounts that came from the people on your VIP list. So it's a way to get needles out of that giant haystack and quickly see what the most important people in your life are trying to say to you. Now, the only thing is it's not totally easy how you designate a VIP and how you see who they are. So it turns out that if you tap on this blue arrow, this blue arrow next to the VIP mailbox, you get this. You get to see all the people who are on the VIP list, which is great. That's how you can remove one, for example. And it turns out that anytime you are addressing an email or looking at an email, if you tap one of those bubbles, address bubbles, you will see the option to add somebody to the VIP list. And the best part of this is, as you can see here, if that same person is important on your iPhone, technically they're probably important on your Mac as well, or your iPad, so these things sync. The VIP list syncs across your Apple gadget. So you can also set up in settings so that when a VIP message comes in, you hear a special sound associated only with that incoming message, and a banner or an alert bubble. That's all part of the notification center. I note that you cannot hide the VIP mailbox if you don't use it, but you can drag it to the bottom and sort of get it out of the way. Flagging is also new in flagging is not new on the iPhone, but the new flagged folder is. So all the people you flagged will now show up there. Okay, so in Safari there are a couple of tweaks. One of the best arguments for the iPhone 5 you're looking at right here, the screen is wider. So the screen is a half an inch wider, so looking at web pages is one of the places where that really pays off. What you're looking at here, you've always known that if you turn the iPhone 90 degrees, the web page gets wide, and that's great. But what you're also seeing here is that I have tapped this button in the lower right corner. That's the full screen mode button. And what that does is it hides all this stuff. It hides the status bar, the address bar, all these buttons down here. They're all hidden. I mean, your screen is 3.5 inches or 4 inches. You really don't need it eaten up by gadgets and gewgaws. So it's a full screen mode, really nice, really slick. If you look down here in the lower left, you'll see you still get back and forward buttons and a way to exit full screen mode. Of course, you can also exit full screen mode by rotating it back upright, but very nice. Let's see. Oh yeah, I got to talk about they've revamped the sharing button. So anytime you see that little sharing button, which looks like this, it appears everywhere in contacts, maps, photos, YouTube, Facebook. That little button is absolutely everywhere. And by the way, David, how is it that you conveniently embed actual iPhone symbols into your prose as though it's another character? How do you do that? No other computer authors bother. How do you do it? Well, I hire a guy who makes me a font, and I have to redo it every damn year because there's new symbols in every one of these. Mountain Lion we have a font, and iPhone we have a font, and Windows we have a font. So we go the extra mile for you people. Anyway, every time you tap that, you used to get a list of things that you could do with this website or this photo. It would say, email it or message it or whatever. Now you get them as a panel of icons. These are all the things you can do with a web page you're looking at. Mail it, send it as a text message, send it to Twitter, post it on Facebook. And this is extensible. So this will eventually have scrolling pages like the home page. You'll eventually flick your finger and see even more of these. So now our share button has become basically a home screen. The reading list in the old versions of the iOS was a way to save web pages for later reading, kind of like a bookmark. The really stupid thing was that it was like a bookmark in that you had to be online to see that item you'd set aside for the reading list. It was a little bit on the lame side. In iOS 6, when you designate something to be on your reading list, and how do you do that? You tap the font. Oh, sorry. You tap this symbol again, and then up comes this thing, and you say add to reading list. It saves the entire website onto your phone. So you can read it when you're on a plane. You can read it on the subway. You can read it when you're on a cruise ship, when you're miles from home, when you're in airplane mode. It's stored on the phone, so you don't have to download it. It's really smart. I discovered the other night that one of my articles was only page 1 of 2, and meanwhile I was on a subway, and I'm like, oh, no, now I can't. But lo and behold, when I tapped the next page button, it came up. So Apple is smart enough to cache the next pages of the article as well. I think that is it for what's cool in Safari. A lot of people complain that, I can search the web, but I can't search the page I'm on. Oh, yes, you can. So the way that works is when you here we go. When you do a search using the regular search box, look above the keyboard. There's a thing that says on this page. And if you tap it, you'll see it will find a certain word that you searched for on that page, and there are even next and previous buttons on the lower right. Is this so weird? I'm like doing a webcast where I'm paging through a book to show you what I'm talking about. I guess it works. Reader mode is still there, but it's so fantastic. If you're not using it, you're crazy. It's when you're reading an article, it gets rid of all this crud, all this junk, the blinking, bleeping ads and everything, and just gives you pure, raw text. It's really fantastic. Okay, maps. We need to talk about maps. I hope you people are sitting down with a beer in your hand. Maps, biggest fiasco in a long, long time. It doesn't work. It's a beautiful piece of software. The features are really well conceived. The driving directions are fantastic. You drive, they give you this really no distraction mode. It looks like this. It's updated with voice commands for the first time. It'll guide you with a voice. It's Siri's voice. Anyway, so a lot of beautiful stuff. But the problem is that to put this together, Apple licensed data from TomTom and all these other companies, 24 different companies. They got restaurant listings from Yelp and traffic from Waze and geographical coordinates from TomTom. And I guess the job of meshing all these was a little more than they figured they could chew. So what happens is you'll plug in an address and you'll get delivered to just a random place that is nowhere near, or buildings are just not where they're supposed to be. I discovered last night that the Eiffel Tower, the label for it is about a mile from the actual tower in the photographic view. So it's kind of a mess. And Tim Cook, Apple's CEO, literally posted a public apology for this piece of software and incredibly suggested that everybody use Google Maps instead, or MapQuest or Bing Maps or Waze, one of the other free navigation apps, while Apple gets its act together and fixes this Maps app. So one of the biggest black eyes in Apple history. I wrote what I thought was the most even-handed possible column about this in my New York Times column, and boy, those fanboys, oh my God, I got such hate mail. What do you got against Apple? I tried it and it got me to the drugstore just fine. Well, that's really great. Try using it 2 more times, and 2 of the 3 times it'll be worthless. So anyway, really, really beautiful software with really rotten underlying data. They need to fix it, and they are fixing it. So a couple of things I discovered, though. When you are navigating with it using this mode, you cannot any longer zoom in or rotate the map or look ahead. You can't see what the next turn is going to be other than the very next turn. You can't plan an alternate route to see what roads are available. All that is off limits to you. This is a pure, hands-free, no distraction mode. But if you tap this overview button right here, then you do indeed get the traditional map view where you can zoom in, rotate, you can scan ahead. So it's not gone, it's just hidden. And you hit this resume button to go back to the navigation mode. But this is something I stumbled on by accident. It's not written up anywhere. Passenger navigation mode is what I'm calling it. Basically, it's a cross between this view and the old view. So what it does is it shows you the regular traffic sign effect, but you can scroll these horizontally. And it doesn't give you spoken directions because the premise is that your passenger is navigating you. You've handed the phone to the passenger who can go step by step, and when you reach a certain intersection, you swipe and you bring the next one into view. Kind of cool. By the way, they have real-time traffic reporting on this app, and what you see is little dotted lines like this. And if there's a traffic event, like an accident or a closure, you'll see it represented as this red circle. You tap on it, and you see actual description of what the problem is. And it's really kind of wild how they're doing this. Apple is using the iPhone itself as their version of Google's Street View trucks, trawling the nation's byways and highways. So in other words, all our iPhones are knowing how fast they're going in our cars because they have GPS and clocks, and they use those information to calculate their current speed, and they're transmitting all of this to Apple in real time, and that's how it's calculating these the traffic patterns. Is they know how fast your iPhone is moving in your car. Really, really clever and sweet. This is Flyover. It's this really gorgeous, more or less worthless, but really beautiful 3D photographic model of major cities. What you can't see here in this static photo is that I can drag with my finger and circle this skyscraper. I can fly around it. I can spread 2 fingers to go closer. I can put 2 fingers on the screen and push up or down to tilt the angle of my photo. And it's really beautiful and kind of cool for major cities. Gives you a bird's eye view. Okay, so that's Maps. Passbook is another new app in the iPhone. It's iOS 6. Not so useful right now because there's only about 6 apps that tie into it. But the idea is anything that you buy that has a barcode, like a plane ticket or a sports ticket or a movie ticket or a Broadway ticket or a loyalty card or a Starbucks card, winds up putting its ticket into this one app. So you have it all in one tidy place. And then you can click on this and hit the I button to flip it around and see the details. And then what's really fun is after you've used it, you click this trash button and you get an animation of a shredder as your ticket goes through the shredder. So right now American Airlines taps into it. I tried it. It works. It uses location services so that when you arrive at the stadium or the theater or the airport, the phone buzzes and alerts you, so you don't even have to burrow to call it up. So a lot of really nasty things said about it online because it's really raw and early and there's not much that takes advantage of it. But it does work. You just have to remember to these different apps tie into it in different ways. Like for the American Airlines app, you have to call up your boarding pass in the American Airlines app first and then tap an Add to Passbook button. So it's not really automated yet. It has a ways to go. Okay, and there's no more YouTube. The YouTube app is gone as part of Apple's never-ending quest to display its enmity for Google. There is, fortunately, a replacement from Google that you can download from the App Store that works exactly the same way as the old one. New in iOS 6, everybody says this is a new iPhone 5 feature. It's not. It's an iOS 6 feature. Therefore, it's available also to the iPhone 4S. It is really fantastic. It is panoramic photos from the camera you already have. What happens is you tap the Options button at the top of the screen. Let's see here. Here's an example of that. And you get this button that that says Panorama. When you tap that, you get this display. And it's unlike any other Panorama app or camera with Panorama for a couple of reasons. One is the Panorama is built seamlessly in real time as you move the phone. Not only are you not asked to knit together a bunch of still photos after the fact, because that's not how it works. It isn't taking multiple full-frame photos. It is, in fact, using the center of the sensor only and building a continuous, giant 28-megapixel, 240-degree panorama as you swing your arm around you. And you see the miniature build as you move it, which is really cool. The purpose of this line is to help you keep it straight, like a carpenter's level. And the purpose of this arrow is to show which direction you're telling the phone you will be swinging your arm. You can tap this arrow to reverse the direction and go the other way. If you move too fast or too slow, it will tell you. It really likes you to move slowly, your arm. And this arrow will leave the carpenter's level and tell you if you're going too high or too low. At any time, you don't have to complete the 240 degrees. At any time, you can stop by hitting the Done button. But here's a trick my tech editor, Rich Koster, came up with. This is really cool. You can do a do-over without having to go all the way back to the beginning of that panorama button by pressing one of your volume keys instead of tapping the Done button. That cuts short the panorama in progress if you didn't want to do a complete one, and it also starts the panorama process from the opening screen, saving you a few steps. Very nice. And the result looks like this. This is not even the full 240 degrees. If I gave you the full one, it would be like an inch tall and it would look really stupid in the book. But you can literally go to Kinko's and get these printed out and hang them over your couch, which is not something you can say for a lot of photos from cell phones. Photos on the iPhone 5 are much faster. There's a 40% faster shot time. A couple other new features. Well, here's that. Oh, here you go. Here's that share button for photos and the fact that it's showing multiple screens of them that you have to swipe. Now you can send a photo, attach a photo to an outgoing mail message. It used to be you had to start in the Photos app and say mail this. Now you can start writing a mail message, hold down your finger in a blank spot, and say attach a photo. That's a very welcome change. And, of course, Twitter and Facebook are built in everywhere. You can tweet a photo or post it on your Facebook wall. And there's photo streams. Photo streams were here before, but what's new is the shared photo stream. It's a little complicated, but it's kind of cool. So you start by choosing an album or selecting a bunch of pictures. You tap the share button. You tap new photo stream, and you're going to address this photo stream to particular people. And it's like a private album you're publishing to them, but it's a live stream. If you add to this album, you'll have the opportunity to update their copy on their device. And not only that, they can comment on your photo streams, and they can like it. In the event that they do not have an iOS device or iPhoto or Aperture, you can also opt to have your published pictures posted on a website. This is really weird, and I didn't understand how it worked. I'll show you in 1 second. So when I send you a shared photo stream, you get this. You are offered, the next time you turn on your iPhone, it'll tell you that someone's offering this for you. If you click accept, you'll see my pictures, and you can click this little button to comment on them. So on the website, this is really weird. They're on your iCloud site, but they're not accessible anywhere from the site. You have to have the link that's generated. So remember when I send you a shared photo stream, it asks me for your email address. And the reason is you get this by email. You get this invitation, and if you click join this photo stream, it'll join your iOS devices. But if you click down here, because you don't have iCloud, you're not part of the Apple cult, click to view this photo stream on the web, and presto, you get a slide. Well, first you get a photo montage like this. Where the heck did this come from? Like MobileMe shut down our online galleries, but now here they are back again. And if you click one of these with your mouse, it starts a slideshow, a full-screen slideshow of your pictures, and they are downloadable. So, in effect, Apple has quietly brought back online albums for free. So, kind of crazy. I just have to spend a minute talking about this new iOS 6 feature. Apple has always done a really good job of making the iPhone usable for blind people, deaf people, and now people with motor control problems. So this is crazy. VoiceOver just keeps getting better and better. VoiceOver is a feature for blind people. Basically, you tap once any object on the screen, and it reads it to you. Safari, mail, 3 messages, music, and so on. And in fact, you can double tap with 3 fingers to turn off the screen. If you're blind, what good is the screen doing you? It's using up battery power, so you can make it completely black, and I've done this for practice. You can operate the entire phone with the screen off just by tapping empty spaces on the screen and getting a mental picture of where everything is. It's really nicely done. The rotor, well, I don't have time to tell you about the rotor, but it is really slick. But in iOS, you can zoom in, you can reverse the colors. But if you're deaf, they have an option to have the LED flash really brightly, really like a strobe light when a call comes in. So if it's sitting across the desk from you, you won't miss the call. But this is so amazing, guided access. This is if you have a little kid or a really old grandparent or somebody who's got motor control problems. Basically, it's kiosk mode. So you, the parent, open up the app you want to hand the phone to your friend with, and then you draw with your finger around the controls that you want to be off limits. This is me saying I want these people to have fun in the Photos app, but I don't want them getting out of it, and I don't want them changing albums, and I don't want them editing, and I don't want them changing modes. As soon as I lift my finger, it turns into this effect, a gray shaded box. Then once I click Start, this is what that app looks like. This stuff is dimmed out at the top. This stuff is dimmed out at the bottom. My lucky 4-year-old can sit in the back, do whatever she wants with the iPhone. The home button is disabled. She can't go into another app. The volume buttons are disabled. Everything's disabled except the parts remaining. And it's just until I try to exit this, in which case I have to put in the parental password. So really, really clever stuff. This is another one that debuted in the last version. It's been enhanced. If you have motor control difficulties, how are you supposed to press the home button or, for example, shake the phone for undo? How are you supposed to trigger Siri if you don't have the control to hold down the home button for 3 seconds? Well, what you do is you turn on Assistive Touch, is this feature, and it puts this little floating ball on your screen, and you can drag it anywhere to any edge. And if you can manage to tap that, with your finger, with your nose, with a chopstick, anything, it brings up this translucent hardware control module. And you can tap this, and that triggers a press of the home button. And even if you don't have motor control buttons, how many of you have ever gotten a sticky home button? Well, this is how you can operate the phone now. And the volume up and volume down keys, the lock button, all these things now are accessible even if you can't use your fingers. So they've really done a great job of that too. Siri's been enhanced in iOS 6. Now you can say, ask about restaurants. You can say, and you can open apps. Oh my gosh, you guys have to do this. I don't want to hear your belly aching about it. I don't use Siri. If you're not using it for opening apps, you're crazy. Say open calendar, launch Angry Birds. It's just, you're saving so much time and so many steps. I can't believe these Siri deniers. They're like global warming deniers or evolution deniers. They're like, oh no, I don't use that. It doesn't work for me. Well, gosh darn it, it will work if you use it to open apps, and it saves you steps, so use it. And also for calling and texting, say call the office, call my fiance. Yes, it knows the relationships of people to you. And use it for alarms. You've got to use it for alarms. It is fantastic. So you say, wake me in half an hour, or wake me at 7:30. That is so much faster than burrowing in. Now, the other stuff, the dictation, granted the dictation is not always accurate, but you really have to use at least reminders. You also have to use it for reminders. It's just so amazing. You say, you're driving along, someone says, hey, don't forget to blah, blah, blah. So you say, remind me to take a shower when I get home, and you say when, and it creates the reminder for you. And it can even have a conversation. You can always say add or socks either, and then she updates it. Anyway, really great stuff. So restaurants are new in iOS 6. So you can say, find me a good pizza joint in Cleveland, or show me the reviews for the Olive Garden in Youngstown. Or you can even say, book me a reservation for 4 at 7:30 at the dressing room. And then she does this automatically, courtesy of OpenTable. It's really pretty great, saving you a lot of steps. She does sports now. When's the next Cowboys game? Who has the best batting average? She does all kinds of she does movies now. You say what movies are playing, or where is Looper playing, and she'll show you that. So, all right, so there we go. Those are my quick overview things on the iPhone. And now, let me get my notes for Mountain Lion. Mountain Lion, I'm running Mountain Lion, so I'm not going to have to show you the pages of a book. Mountain Lion is a modest upgrade from Lion, but at $20, for an unlimited number of copies, it's a pretty good deal. A few features that I use pretty frequently. Notification Center has come from the iPhone and the iPad to the Mac. And so what happens is if you swipe with 2 fingers from the right edge of the screen, you move the whole desktop over like this. And you see all your upcoming notifications from the calendar. You see your most recent incoming Twitter feeds, your Facebook feeds, App Store, the photo stream, all these things that would normally pop up bubbles and banners and get your attention in different ways. Now they're all in one place. And you can double-click one or click one just to jump directly to that item. And it's important to note that all of these are controlled in this new System Preferences pane, which is identical to the one on the iPhone. So this is where you go through the different apps that might want to get your attention, and you can control how they get your attention. Like, I never want calendar reminders to bother me, or I want them to bother me with a banner. This is something that slides in from the right. It waits for 5 seconds and then quietly slides away, gets off your screen, and alerts, which slide onto the screen but stay there until you click OK or dismiss them. So for each kind of app, you can specify how you want it to be alerted or whether you don't want them to bother you at all. So yes, I would rather not have Facebook ever bother me with a bubble, so I'm going to turn off the notification center, and lo and behold, it's now not in the notification center. A couple of things that people miss. At the top, there are buttons, click to tweet and click to post. These go directly to Twitter and Facebook. So you don't have to open an app. When the thought strikes you and you have a funny idea, boom, click to tweet, you type it, you click send, and you're done. You can hide those buttons if you don't use Twitter or Facebook by turning them off here. And the other thing that a lot of people don't realize is here, there's more to this panel. If you scroll up above the top of it, this is a silencer for all those banners and alerts. So if you're about to give a presentation or you're showing someone a slideshow and you don't want to be reminded, you don't want things bugging you at all, this is a temporary shut up button. No banners or alerts will appear at all. So there's a new app called Notes, new to the Mac, but not new to iOS. This is part of Apple's ongoing effort to make the Mac a giant iPhone, an iPad. Version by version, it's bringing over all the same features. This, of course, syncs with the iPhone, so anything you put in here will wind up on your iPhone in looking exactly like this. So I use Notes a lot. This is driving directions. My my 8-year-old is like, Dad, can I play on your iPhone when we're driving? I'm like, no, son, you're too addicted. You spend too much time with electronics. And he says, how about if I compose fiction? Okay, here. And so he writes these stories on my iPhone endlessly. Some of them are like pages and pages long. And how am I going to argue with this kid? I mean, Dad, I want to be a writer like you. Can I use your iPhone? Okay. Anyway, so a couple things are different on the Mac version. You have formatting. So you can choose the font. You can use bold and underline. And some of these things will actually carry over when synced to the iPhone. So you can have formatting here that you cannot do on the iPhone, and it will sync over. Similarly, there is a Reminders app. This is new. It is exactly like the iPhone app in that they have geofence ideas. You can say, remind me when I leave work to turn off the lights, or remind me when I get home to water the plants. You can have multiple lists of them. And these work great with Siri, by the way, on the iPhone. I can say, add cottage cheese to my groceries list. And without ever opening the Reminders app or without ever typing anything, it'll add cottage cheese, and that will get synced over to your Mac. And here's all the kinds of things you can do. You can have it remind you at a date, at a time, and so on. So that syncs over. There is a dictation. Dictation has come to the Mac for free. I mean, there's been the Dragon dictation, but now dictation is built into the Mac. And because I'm an idiot, I will try to do a live demo where I'm sharing the bandwidth with the screen sharing. So let's say I'm on my grocery list. What I do is I tap the FN button, the fun button, as I call it, twice, and then I can just speak. That salad dressing with the oil and the vinegar and all the herbs. Then I hit enter, and there it is. I have just dictated to my Mac for free. There's no training. There's no headset required, although you'll get probably better results. It's just great. And I actually I've been using the new Dragon dictation app from Dragon, and it is much better than this. I mean, this is just really crude. And but for answering a quick email, I'm so sorry, comma, I'm not going to be able to attend your little party, period. I have an O'Reilly webcast that day, period. And there it is. So dictation has come to the Mac. It's all built in. There's nothing to it. You double tap the FN button. You can, of course, designate a different keystroke if you want. You're limited to 30-second utterances, but the accuracy is pretty darn good. It uses the exact same nuance technology that the iPhone uses, which means it requires an internet connection because it's actually sending your audio to Boston to the nuance servers to turn into text, and then it is sent right back. AirPlay is so unbelievably awesome. If you have an Apple TV, then this button appears on your menu bar, and anything on your screen is now mirrored on your television. So I could give this presentation for you guys instead of over the internet on the TV. And so it's so fantastic for demos, and it's so fantastic for videos. Like the Apple TV has YouTube and it has Netflix, but it doesn't let you play Amazon movies. Well, so what? Now I go into Safari, I start playing the Amazon movie in my web browser, and then I send it to the TV this way. For years, Hulu has not let you watch free Hulu on TV sets. It's always been limited to your web browser. Well, guess what? For the first time, Apple fans can now watch free Hulu on their TV sets using this AirPlay feature. So really great if you have an Apple TV. A lot of people have been complaining as soon as they install Mountain Lion, they're not able to open certain programs they download from the internet, and that is because of Gatekeeper. It's a new feature that is designed to protect you from nasty malware on the web. And it's a little confusing because there's nothing called Gatekeeper. You won't see a button or a system preference pane. But instead, if you go into the security and privacy pane of system preferences on the General tab, this is what we're talking about. Allow applications downloaded from, and it defaults to the Mac App Store. It defaults to you can't open a downloaded app unless you got it from the App Store. And you might be frustrated and think that Apple is overreaching and limiting what you can do. Well, no, because you can also say only open apps that came from the Mac Store and software companies Apple has heard of, or you can turn the whole thing off and say, let me allow apps from anywhere if you know what you're doing. So, but in general, Gatekeeper is a kind of a good idea to stop, Trojan apps from loading and so on. So one last thing I should tell you about in system preferences, in the increasingly important mail, contacts, and calendars, this is where you record your Facebook and your Twitter name and password so that you can use Facebook and Twitter without ever having to enter them again. But in the Facebook pane here, there's a crazy thing called Get Profile Photos. And this is wild. What it does is it uses the email and phone numbers in your contacts address book. It uploads them briefly to Facebook. I know this is a big security fear for those of you who are security fearful, so don't use it if you don't like it. But what it'll do is it'll fetch the headshots, the photos of everybody in your contacts who happens to be on Facebook. Because let's face it, for most people, nobody uses a headshot thing for Facebook. There we go. Let's see if I have an example. So this picture of Dan, I didn't have a picture of Dan, but it grabbed it from his Facebook page, and so now my address book has pictures of a lot of people who I did not used to have pictures of. So that's kind of a cool feature. And all right, so there's a quick overview of some of the big ticket items on the iPhone and Mac OS X Mountain Lion. Do you guys have any questions? We have 10 minutes left. Let me flip back to Firefox and let me hit Q&A and see if you have any questions. Melissa asks, is Apple TV for older laptops or desktops? Yeah, Apple TV doesn't require a computer at all. Apple TV is a little box for $100 that connects to your TV. I think you mean what about AirPlay, and I should have specified AirPlay is available only on laptops and only those with recent processing power. So the new MacBook Air, the new Retina MacBook Pro, that annoyed a lot of people when it first came out. I should have specified. Sorry about that. Barbara says, where's the FN button for dictating? It's the lower left corner of the laptop screen. It says FN on it. Carlos says, the reason I haven't upgraded is the issue of degraded battery life. What have you experienced? I have experienced no degradation of battery life. I just flew from New York to San Francisco, 6.5-hour flight, and I had 27% left when I landed on a MacBook Air, so that was great. William Murphy, are any of the iOS 6 features mentioned that do not work on the 3GS, 4, and 4S? Why, yes. A lot of them, I mean, you can look on the Apple website, but obviously the older the phone, the fewer of the glitzy new features work. In Maps, for example, the navigation, the spoken navigation, works only on the 4, 4S, and 5. The panorama mode works only on the 4S and 5. AirPlay, I think, probably is one of the more recent ones. So, yeah, some of the glitzier new features require more recent models. Jean Christie asks, is Siri only on the 4S? It is only on the 4S and the 5. Siri is not on the 4 and the 3GS. Although a lot of people forget, the 4 and the 3GS still have voice command. And in some ways it's better. It rarely gets things as wrong because it's far more limited. It's for calling people, for controlling music playback, and maybe one other very simple function. And by the way, those of you who have iPhone 4 Envy can turn off Siri in settings on the 4S and 5, and you too get the older voice control. Carlos asks, can you use the panorama feature on the iPad 3? Yes, you can. Daryl says, what software is the TE in the blue sphere on David's header? Oh, okay. So this is Text Expander. I, as you may have noticed, am a ridiculously overcommitted person. I write a column for Scientific American, a column for the New York Times. I do TV segments for CBS Sunday Morning. I have Nova series, and I write books to earn a living. So this is a text expander. So I type the, and when I hit the space bar, it's going to say, so the problem, PL, is that, TH, the Macintosh and Mac OS X are too much like Windows 7. So these are all abbreviations, and Text Expander is expanding me for them. I have hundreds upon hundreds, hundreds and hundreds of these things that I've built up over the years. Yeah, you guys think that I'm responding nicely to your email. It's actually just a canned. Like people always, these PR people always ask me to sign these ridiculous loan forms for their equipment. Like if I keep your camera, like you're not going to be able to track me down. It's ridiculous. So I type this. So I use boilerplate text a lot. And this, by the way, this is built into the operating system now. It's in System Preferences under Language and Text. So I could have done it that way, but Text Expander just says, obviously it's shareware. It has more features and works a little bit better. Sonia asks, how do we set our notifications up to save battery? I'm not sure what that means. Follow up if you have another question. Ben asks, does the reading list sync across iOS devices? Yes, it does. So here's Safari. Here's my reading list. All of these articles also appear magically on my iPhone. So any article that I save for later reading on the Mac is also synced over to the iPhone, vice versa. It's really nice. I have to say, this iCloud thing is slowly creeping up on us. It's slowly been getting more and more and more useful. I use this crazy, fantastic calendar program called BusyCal. It's like iCal, but just so much better. And it uses the same data, and it syncs to iCloud, and So my phone and that and my friends and my family all have the same calendar. Alan asks, note that VIP in iOS works only on inboxes, whereas Mountain Lion works on all mailboxes. Thank you, Alan. That is absolutely correct. I did say that in the book. I just didn't say that here. On the iPhone, that VIPs feature only rounds up the messages that VIPs have sent you that are sitting in your inbox, whereas in Mail on the Mac, if I click VIPs, these messages have been drawn from all my folders. Melissa asks, will iOS 6 slow down an iPhone 4 significantly? I haven't heard large-scale whining, but I think I have heard that anecdotally here and there. I Googled that one. I haven't tried it on an iPhone 4, so here, let's try this. Does iOS 6 slow down the iPhone 4? Oh, here we go. And this guy tried it on his 3GS. Here we go. Well, here's an article that will answer that question. It doesn't receive all the features, new software proposed benefits, and messages slow down on occasion, occasional system glitches. Oh, that was with iOS 5, sorry. But it's better now on iOS 6. So battery life is better. So it's sounding like no. Sounding like it's not a problem. All right. That is 1 hour. That is your free complimentary webcast. Thank you for joining us. If you missed any of this information, all you have to do is buy the damn book. This one just went to press this morning, thanks to my all-nighter, and it will be available in a couple weeks. In my experience, Amazon usually has the first batches, but maybe not supposed to say that. So you could pre-order, and OS X Mountain Lion is available now. It is, in fact, 50% off all day today, I believe, from O'Reilly. And if you follow me on Twitter, @Pogue, you'll see there is the tweet where I publish the information. So thank you guys for coming, and nice to see so many good-looking faces.
And I know you were up very, very late, so we do appreciate you spending time with us today. Everyone that attended, thank you, and this will conclude today's webcast. Goodbye, everybody.